Hello and welcome to the cozy week ahead. We are halfway through November. We just had this humongous, big full moon in Taurus. And you can see as I'm recording this, 10 a.m. on Sunday, that the moon has moved on. It went over Jupiter just a little bit ago. And this last week of Scorpio season feels like there is a lot going on that feels maybe in opposition. Or I've had a couple people say what's going on? Why are people being such jerks? And there can be many reasons why we can get into conflict or energies can be crazy. I think we have this Mars in Leo showing up with some ego, showing up with some maybe it is a feeling of people being quite proudful or boastful, and that might lead to judgment for others. That might lead to a place of I was at a hockey tournament all weekend and the cheering was like extra, 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 extra. And how can you blame people for cheering for their team, right? But then on the other side, there is excess with certain things, and knowing that today the moon with Jupiter in that Gemini, yeah, I'm glad that everything went well and that we are now done our hockey tournament. So we can see this opposition that is happening, Jupiter in the sky and Mercury in Sagittarius currently. And this will perfect this week. This is an energy of excess, of talking, of being at odds with our words, at being at odds, maybe even with our spiritual path. I have a little bit of a finding peace conversation or poem that I'm going to read to you. I'd like to get centered because it does feel like the energy is a bit swirling. We've had this full moon in Taurus that maybe brought up some senses things, what we sense, and also the sense piece in our body, and our physical bodies might have been having some other ways that we come to our physical body and have signs and symptoms show up. So I invite you to close your eyes, taking a few deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth, sighing on the exhale if it feels good to do so. Inviting in the elemental guides, fire, earth, air, and water. And I want you to visualize in that fire realm, we have Mercury. In that fire realm, we have the North Node and Chiron. In the fire realm, we have Mars, asking that they join us in circle and ceremony for the highest good of all involved. I invite the radiant ancestors, the well ones, our ancestors so far back that we don't even know their names, asking that they be with us for this reading, for this week, that we know them, that we hold them, that we love them, and that they join us to maybe find some peace. And I have my sweet little daughter.
I'm trying to be quiet.
This is called Finding Peace. There is an old Zen story about a young monk who was struggling to learn to meditate. He went to his master and complained, "Every time I try to meditate, a dog starts barking outside. It barks the whole time and I can't concentrate. If I could just get rid of the dog, everything would be fine." The master thought for a moment and asked, "Does the dog come into the room to bark at you? Or do you leave the room to be barked at by it?" Peace is a bit like this. We tell ourselves that it's not our fault we don't feel peaceful. It's the fault of our job, our relationship, or the place where we live. Or we can make the mistake of thinking that peace is something we'll find if we go on a holiday or we get out into nature. In other words, it's something outside of ourselves. to be found somewhere other than where we already are. We think that we will find peace only if everything was a little bit less difficult and frustrating. But if life is frustrating us, is life frustrating us? Or are we going outside of ourselves to be frustrated by it? If we learn to accept things as they are, then we remove those layers of annoyance and resistance. We get rid of the barking dog and we find the peace that was there underneath all along. Real peace means finding space in the everyday instead of waiting for the picture postcard version of our lives where everything is perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And you can open your eyes. Feels pretty synchronistic to have my daughter interrupt that as we are talking, as we are meditating and in that realm together. And yeah, peace is not outside of us ever. It is something that we get to choose in every moment. And I think this week that will be very important. Now I'm going to put this ahead. We're going to go one full day here. So starting with Monday, November 18th, and thinking about the energy of how we are coming to this week. Again, we're in that last week of Sag or Scorpio season. We will move into Sagittarius this week. And Sagittarius season can be this time of expansion, growth, and I like to think of like philosophical learning and travel and Sagittarius, like there is an energy here for me that feels very Santa Claus like. Okay, the myth of Santa Claus, old Saint Nick, and how we might optimistically give to others, how also we might receive. All of these things are stuff that brings about in Sagittarius season. But and also, it is a month of redemption. It is a month when the sun is still dying and it is dark, dark, dark. Okay, so just even finding that peace within is so important, and remembering that we don't have to do everything. You can say no to something, and it might feel really hard. I even said no this week and then like took it back and still did the thing, but it was me flexing that saying no muscle, right? And there is this theme here for us around not or overdoing, because Mercury and Jupiter to start the week, we can see them opposite each other in the sky. Mercury is a very busy energy too, right? And it's in Sagittarius, which is that expansion, that growth, that, even kind of wanting to party, wanting to laugh, wanting to have the jokes, wanting to expand and grow. And then having Jupiter in Gemini, which is very much about information and movement and being social and coming to and learning. We feel this opposition energy that just feels a little bit, well, the phrase that I called this week, how are you happening to life? And really reflecting on that. How and where do you participate in your life? The Magician, which is the card that I pulled for the week, can speak to the power of concentration. Where is your attention being placed? The direction of your concentration might just have to be readjusted. And specifically on Monday with that